Hi everyone, welcome back. Been a few years since I've made a video. As you've all seen the title, you understand my belief. I think the Lions are going to beat the Vikings this Sunday and take the 1 seed. That's why I wanted to make this video. It's a big game. I've been looking into it the last few days and figured I'd share that with everyone else. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just a dude with an opinion and who feels like putting that opinion out there for the world to hear. Or maybe like 20 of you. I don't have very many subscribers. All right, well, I'm gonna bury the lead. Let's get right into it. The Vikings' style of defense seems to be predicated around pressure on the quarterback, blitz, make the quarterback throw before they're ready, off balance throws, disrupt the timing, all pretty basic things. It's a whole blitz setup, a whole belief behind blitzing. It worked for decades. It's going to keep working. But when you blitz as much as the Vikings do, it's 50%, over 50% of everything they do on defense. They blitz 55% of all plays. So they get a lot of picks, right? They get a lot of turnovers. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback and sacks. And if you just look at that for what it is, it looks impressive, and rightfully so. The problem is, it doesn't really work on experienced quarterbacks. People that are like top tier quarterbacks that have good, decent teams around them, playoff caliber teams. Doesn't work too well against them because they understand it. They understand the blitzing. They understand what goes on if they're sending the outside linebacker coming through. If they're sending the outside linebacker and the corner on that side, where they typically send everyone, they understand all of that. They've been around long enough. They understand the pace of the game. They understand where to go in certain situations when things happen. And they can probably figure it out beforehand and shift things to make it work, audible out of it, so there's someone going to be in that space. That's why everyone likes a veteran quarterback. They know what they're doing. They've been around. So with young quarterbacks, that really works. Young, inexperienced ones who don't really understand all that. I can't make the jump to like top tier quarterback level. Because what they're doing is they'll blitz those guys. They'll feel the pressure. They might take a sack. But over enough time, they don't want to keep taking the sack. They want to make plays. So that's when they start forcing passes, throwing it before they're ready. And the DBs understand that. DBs and linebackers, anyone who's dropped back in coverage, they understand that. And they understand that like a couple steps before pressure is made, like before pressure gets to them, that quarterback's going to throw it to try to make a play. So they know when the pass is being thrown. If you got a defender turning and coming at you and you're 3-4 steps from him, as soon as that quarterback's arm goes back, when that pressure's coming, they know the pass is coming. So they're ready and they're moving up as soon as the pressure's starting to come because they know that pass is coming out, and then everyone jumps the route. And that works on the younger, inexperienced ones who can't figure that out. So, here comes the long part. I don't have that good of a memory, so I got notes. Going over the Vikings schedule, it's been kind of easy. They've really only had 5 games so far with good quarterbacks with good teams. Only 5 of them, and they've lost 2 of those. So let's go over it. Giants. No quarterback, no team. They're getting the first seed for a reason. San Francisco. They get a decent quarterback. Purdy's not bad, but I think he makes mistakes. He's one of those gamer type quarterbacks. Just goes out there, balls out, chucks the ball around, and has a grand old time. But he needs a good team around him. He didn't have Christian McCaffrey in this game, but he is young enough and still pretty inexperienced to where he can make mistakes and be had. And you can trick him into making passes that he shouldn't. Houston. I'm iffy on CJ Stroud. I think he had a really good rookie year, obviously, but now he's having a bit of an off year. Team doesn't seem that great around him. So yeah, they did get that win, and it was by a decent amount, so that was a good win by them still. But he's still young enough to where that can be the pressure can force him into making mistakes. And then Green Bay, the first time, obviously. Love's a decent QB. I don't think he's great. He's living off of the past quarterback's glory, and everyone still focuses on Green Bay. He does get forced into making mistakes. I think he's had the most dropped interceptions in the league last year. Started off kind of the same boat this year. He's been decent like the second half of this year, not making too many interceptions, but he still makes stupid plays, bad decisions. He does have a decent team around him, though, which is why Vikings only beat them by 2 both times. Jets, great quarterback, still. But he's got a shit team around him. He's got nobody. You can't do anything with nobody. And they did beat them by 5 or 6, something like that. It was 23-17, I believe. So Aaron Rodgers won't make mistakes like that. Unless it's like game end and he's got to do something. And then they played us, the Lions. We all know how that went. We had a top tier quarterback. We have an elite offense. D was starting to get broken right then. That's after we lost both our defensive ends. Had backups, and I believe Barnes was gone by then. I'm not 100% on that. Either way, Goff could break it down, find the blitzers, and make good plays. They had one where they were blitzing one more person than we had blocking. Just something they do, like, screw it, go all out, and they send one more guy than what we have. And Goff, being the veteran, smart quarterback that he is, brought, I believe it was Tim Patrick over in motion and snapped the ball, like when he was between the guard and the tackle, which picked up that spare blocker, or that spare blitzer. And what happened with that is the DBs never expected the play to last so long to where someone could get deep, because the safeties didn't even drop back. They just sat at like 10, to 12 yards deep. So that gave him enough time, like 2 seconds, to be able to sit back and throw a deep pass down the right side to one of our receivers. And that's something veterans can do. And as we all know, that was the Vikings' first loss of the season. Because of the Honolulu flu and the fact that it was Matt Stafford they went up against the next week, they lost against the Rams as well. Because as we all know, Stafford, he is a smart quarterback. He understands all this stuff. Blitzes, where to go. He got his ass kicked here for a decade for a reason. And he picked up on all that and the knowledge he got from all those years here. So he understands, drop it off, need to move this guy here, pick up the blitz. That's something he's good with. He's one of those top tier quarterbacks with a good team around him to where this defense by the Vikings doesn't really work. The next one is Colts. This is the game where they had Flacco in. Flacco is a veteran, but he was always one of those above average veterans. You know, he was never elite as much as he wanted to be. He was carried to the Super Bowl by Ray Lewis and the Ravens defense. Everyone knows that. He's good, but he does still feel the need to make plays. He didn't play that bad, but they really don't have much of a team around him. So the Vikings won that game. That was still a good win because Flacco is a veteran quarterback. But he's a veteran in the sense that he knew to do a quick dump-off pass to the flats, and that's kind of what they planned on. It doesn't have anything deep. If you're blitzing, they fade back, drop it off to the flats, short crosser, something like that, keep everything in front of the defense, and they come up and make a mass tackle. He didn't know to bring people over, pick up a blocker, or use a blocker to pick up a blitz that he didn't have available before and hit someone deep. You know, he didn't have that ability to do that in the fly. Jaguars, Lawrence is a decent QB. He's just got no one around him. He's got no team. So he won't make all the mistakes, but he also doesn't have anyone to throw to and no one to help him, which is why they're one of the worst teams in the league. So, of course, Vikings won that game too. Titans, bad quarterback, no team. Will Levis was their quarterback in that game, so. Bears, I got an okay quarterback. I think he's good, but again, no offensive line. Guy's running for his life. So he's in pressure mode right off the start. The fact that they were able to keep it close with them is impressive. Arizona, they got a good quarterback and a decent team. That's one of those 5 teams. They're I don't know if they're in the playoffs or if they're what, but they're kind of on the cusp of making it, not making it. They got a good team, good quarterback, but Kyler is young and can be forced into making mistakes through just inexperience, really. So that's why I worked against him. Falcons, good quarterback, good team. I mean, they don't really have an O-line, and Cousins isn't great under pressure, but it's still a good win. They beat them 42-21, so that was pretty sound. It was a good, just straight up a good win by them. The Bears again, I just mentioned them. Seattle, Geno Smith is good, and they got an okay team. They just don't have an O-line, so he was running for his life most of the game, most of the season. But he also was injured in this game too. And Minnesota won that game 27-24. So it's like they're close with a lot of these other teams. So that was still a good win. You know, Seattle could have beat them, but Minnesota just came out on top that one. So it's like they're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. They're good. It's just their defensive scheme is the issue. And the last game they played is against Green Bay, where they won again, but again only by 2 both times. And that's with a quarterback who can be forced into making mistakes. So it's like, yeah, the key is if you have a good quarterback, like a top tier quarterback or a great quarterback, and they've got a decent O-line and good receivers and running backs, they can defeat the Minnesota defense. They've just played nobody. They've had a very easy powder puff schedule this year. There is a chance Alex Anzalone can come back, and that would be a big, big benefit to the defense. So with Anzalone back there as an option, if he's there, Darnold still makes bad passes. He still makes inaccurate passes, and I think he leads the league in interception-worthy plays, like just passes that should be picked off but aren't, or just really like passes where the receiver has to stop and come back for it, reach behind him, but they've just got such elite receivers that they can do that. So Sam Darnold, although having a great year, can be had still. He still makes interceptions. I think he threw one last week. So I think the key to here is try to get pressure on him as much as we can. Just keep everyone covered and see if we can get to him with our front four. Because we only have to stop them once or twice. If we can stop them once or twice, we'll win this game. And I don't see them scoring on us every single time. I know our defense is broken right now, but we still got Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Terry Arnold. He's young, he's making some mistakes, but he's still like locked down. He is the shadow of every receiver he's on. And if Yatu Melifanu was back, so we got him and Kirby at safety. Branch is back in the nickel. Our defensive backfield is still solid. So, feeling pretty good about that. Front seven's a different story, but our DBs are still good. Side note, how cool would it be if final play of the games, they were up like 34-30, Vikings are driving down the field to try to do one last heave into the end zone to win, and they throw a pick to Ifeatu Melifonwu. If he gets another division-sealing interception against the Vikings, it'll be great. I really wish that happens. If it's not a blowout, which it probably isn't going to be, if it's one of those back and forth games, I hope it ends that way. Just because it'll be funny. Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe if you want. Help me avoid a real career. Have a good one.